How's it going, guys? Welcome back to another Python coding tutorial. In the last one I talked about how to make a login combining print, some user input, and a couple if commands or if functions. I don't know what they're called. These things here. So anyways, I'm kind of going to move backwards here. I'm going to break it down, what each one of these means, what print means, what input means, what the variables, what the if means, all that kind of stuff. So anyways, this was our old one, and I made a new one here, just blank, so I can kind of test some stuff out to show you. So the first thing that I have here, well, the first thing I have is obviously this. It's just a note. Anything with the pound sign in front of it is just a note. So whatever's here, it does not matter. And so then the second thing I have is import time. What that does is it tells the code to pull in the library called time. And time has several things in it, and one of them the most common one that I've used is this one, the sleep command. And what that does is it pauses your script for that long. It goes to bed for 1.5 seconds, and then it wakes up again and continues right where it left off. So that's really handy, just trying to make like a clean looking code, or if you wanted to say loading, even though something wasn't really loading, you could say print loading sleep for 2 seconds, and then it would also look like it was trying to load something. And then of course there's actual uses to it, but I'm not going to get into that now. So the third thing we have here is the print command, which is probably the most common command you'll come across, and it's simply by default it should look like that, and that means that it's going to print whatever's in these parameters here. And in this case, it's going to be text that we're putting in, just some letters and stuff. So we'll say hello world, and then make sure you put your end apostrophe mark or single quote. And we'll save this, and I'm on my other screen here to run this. And then of course we'll notice that it does run, but it gets through that and then it closes again because there's nothing else to run. So just for the sake of being able to open it and show you, I'm just going to put input. We're not going to put anything in there, but as you can see, it prints out hello world, and now it's waiting for a user input to put whatever they want in. Then as soon as I press enter, the input's done and it closes. So that's how print works. It's pretty simple. It's pretty much the most basic command you'll come across. Another basic command is the user input, which I just talked about. We use this here as the input. So a lot of the times you'll use input with the if string code command, because you're able to say if the variable that you just set to whatever you put in is equal to whatever the code knows is right, then it'll continue. So that this is a variable right there, and this is separate. This is input. So input by default looks just like that, just like the print command, except input. And these parameters aren't super important. This means that it will by default, when the code comes up, this is what it'll already have set in it. So I could say input something here, and then we'll save this and run it for you here. As you say, it says input something here, and it's ready for you to type, and you can't erase it. The user isn't able to erase it. So that's important if you wanted to say put your password here or put your username here. Then you didn't want to put print and then this, so it's all on the same line. So that can be nice. It can definitely, if you don't add the correct variables and stuff, it can end up being a pain if you're trying to do an if. God, I keep wanting to say command. I'm just gonna call it if command. It can be a pain because you'll end up saying that if if your variable name is equal to whatever you put in there, then it'll continue. So you just have to make sure that you keep track of what you put in here. So speaking of variables, we used two different variables here. We said that we made a new one and we called it name. The first time it comes up in your code is going to be the first time that it's created. Name is whatever the user inputs. So a variable could be name. Actually, like we said here, we said by default the user can't change it, that username is equal to Lucas, the text Lucas, not a variable. If we took these quotes out, then it would become that variable is equal to that variable, and then that's when it becomes a problem, because the variable Lucas doesn't exist and it won't create it if it's the second part. So that's important to note. And I'm just messing everything up right now. So we'll say the name is what the user is going to input. And that's one thing that I find handy, is when you're coding, to kind of talk yourself like as you put it in. So the name is the input that the user is going to put in, and so then we'll say print name. So what this will do is the user is going to decide what name is right here. We're going to say name is Lucas. And it's going to print name, and it said there for a second, but it closed because I didn't have anything else for it to run. But then it prints that variable. So it's important to note that the code works its way down. If this is the other way around, or if the variable was below print, if this said print name and name is equal to Lucas, that wouldn't work, because it runs this and it has no idea what the variable name is, because it hasn't gotten there yet. So that's how variables work. They're extremely common. That's what you'll be using a lot. The if command is also extremely useful, because you can kind of sort through the data that you just got from the input. So here, these two variables, and the name that the user put in and the username, the one that the system is by default set to whatever I put in there. This says that if, just like in the English language, if the name, so if whatever I put in here is equal to, so that's what the two equal signs mean, and you always use those with if command. It's always going to be two signs, two equal signs, that is. It means that it's the same as. It doesn't mean that it's going to set it to. It means that it's equal to that, and it's the same as. It's just a very on the surface kind of read of that. So we'll say that the name is input from the user, and the system name, we'll call it system name is equal to admin. And notice how it's lowercase. Whatever the user puts in, it's got to match this. So we could say that it's equal to admin, or we could say that it's equal to capital A admin, but that would mean that they would have to make sure that they capitalize the A. And I'll get into that in a different video about how you can kind of get around that. So then, because we're just following the code, we say if the name that the person put in, if the variable name is the same as the system name, in the if commands you always end with a colon, and then it should automatically indent. That's it, you'll know it's right. So this is the branch of code that means if the name you put in is the same as system name, then it's going to say print success. And we'll say if the name isn't. So that's how you say isn't. It's exclamation mark equals sign. And that's important because if you had a long list of numbers, you could, and only one of them is right, you would say if the name is system name, then it's success. But if it's not, if it's anything other than system name, it would print failure. Failure. And then I'm just going to put another input so we can pause it here, and we're going to go ahead and run this so you can see how that works. So we're going to say admin. As you can see, it prints out success. If we put in Lucas, failure. So you can see how that'd be useful, because then you could end up branching off and you could have a gazillion lines of code just for each if command. That's just how your code could end up branching off from each other. Usually you could say for a login, you would say failure, and then it would quit the program, which I've actually used. I didn't use that here, but I could have. I could say if the name isn't username, quit. And then I do the exact same thing here with the password, and then I did what I just went over. Actually, I use this, but for some reason it's lower down in the code, which it probably shouldn't be. So yeah, there we go. I just fixed that, because that shouldn't be that low. It should all kind of be grouped together. So if it's not the username, it says please wait, it thinks about it, and it says incorrect. Incorrected. So apparently that is not spelled right. Closing program, exit. But if it's success, as you can see, it says please enter your password, and then as soon as this ends, it breaks till after all the if commands are over, or as long as it doesn't apply to another one. So if this said name equals username, it would go to this one, it would do this. So instead it decides to go down to here, and it puts in, the user gets to decide their password, or sorry, they don't get to decide, they have to put in the system password, admin. And if that password is equal to this, then it will print please wait, thinks about it, correct logging in. And then for this I could do the same thing here, except it would say if password isn't equal to password 1, please wait, incorrect, closing program, exit. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Those are some basic techniques to use in Python. Make sure you guys subscribe so you get the latest Python videos from me, and then we also post gaming videos, me and Daniel. So anyways guys, I'll talk to you later. Thanks for watching. See ya.